On the coldest night of winter, when most families were safe inside warm homes, a little girl in a bright red coat stumbled upon two tiny German shepherd puppies shivering in the snow, abandoned, freezing, and moments away from death. She didn't hesitate. She didn't think twice. She scooped them into her arms, whispering, "I'll protect you. I promise." But what she didn't know was that these weren't ordinary puppies. And by morning, dozens of police officers surrounded her home, weapons drawn, demanding that she step outside immediately. What these puppies truly were shocked everyone. Stay with us, because this story will leave you speechless. Before we start, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The wind howled like a living creature that night, sweeping across the valley with a fury that made even seasoned adults bolt their doors and stay inside. Snowflakes, sharp as icy needles, stung the air as they raced past darkened windows and empty streets. It wasn't just cold. This was the kind of winter storm that forced the entire town into silence. A storm so fierce it seemed to swallow sound, breath, and hope all at once. But in the middle of that deadly quiet, a tiny splash of color moved determinedly through the storm. Lily Thompson, bundled in her bright red coat, trudged through the snow with slow, careful steps. She had just left her grandmother's cabin at the edge of the woods, a visit she made every Friday, no matter the weather. Her grandmother had begged her to stay the night, urging that the blizzard would only get worse. But Lily didn't want her parents to worry, and she believed she could make it home before the worst hit. Snow clung to her braids, her cheeks pink from a cold, but she pushed forward, clutching the small basket her grandmother had packed. The path home wound through a narrow trail lined with tall pines, their branches heavy with ice. Every so often, a branch snapped under the weight, making Lily jump as the sound cracked through the storm. Her breath came out in short, white clouds. She hummed softly to calm her nerves, but even her voice felt muffled against the roaring wind. Halfway down the path, she paused, pulling her coat tighter around herself. Something felt different. The storm wasn't just loud, it felt watchful, like it was trying to warn her about something ahead. Lily swallowed, glancing around at the swirling white that made it impossible to see more than a few steps in front of her. She told herself it was just her imagination, just the storm playing tricks on her. But her heartbeat quickened anyway. Another gust of wind slammed into her, nearly knocking her sideways. She steadied herself quickly, planting her boots deeper into the snow, and hurried forward. She just wanted to get home. She had no idea that before she reached her door, her life would collide with a moment that would change everything. Lily continued down the snowy path, her boots sinking so deep that each step felt heavier than the last. The wind stung her eyes, forcing her to squint as she moved forward. She knew this trail by heart, every turn, every old wooden fence post, every cabin that sat quietly beneath layers of winter frost. But today, something felt different. The storm twisted familiar shapes into shadows she couldn't recognize. As she neared the small abandoned cabin, one she always hurried past because it felt lonely and forgotten, she heard something unusual. At first, she thought it was the wind whistling through the broken window frames. But then it came again. A sound too soft, too desperate, too alive. A tiny whimper. Lily froze. Her breath stalled in her throat as she listened harder. The sound trembled through the air again, this time clearer, faint, fragile, like a cry swallowed by the storm. She stepped closer, her heart thundering. The wooden cabin, dusted in white, stood silent, untouched. But beside it, barely visible under the thick blanket of snow, was an old bench. And, on that bench, were two tiny shapes. Lily blinked, then gasped, her mittened hand flying to her mouth. Two German shepherd puppies sat huddled together, their small bodies shivering violently. Snow clung to their fur, weighing them down, their ears drooping, their eyes dull and glassy. One tried to lift its head toward her, but lacked the strength. The other whimpered again, the sound breaking like a fragile thread. Oh no, Lily whispered, stepping forward as tears pricked her eyes. She dropped to her knees in the snow, ignoring the cold that seeped through her clothes. You're just babies, The puppies were freezing, truly freezing. Their paws were stiff, their whiskers coated with icicles, and their breath came out in tiny, uneven puffs. Lily looked around wildly. No tracks. No footprints. No sign that anyone else had been here. Someone had left them. Someone had abandoned them in the middle of the storm. Her heart squeezed painfully. She couldn't understand how anyone could do such a thing. She reached out slowly, letting the puppies sniff her gloves. They didn't pull away. Instead, they leaned closer, seeking the warmth of her hands. "You're going to be okay," Lily whispered, her voice trembling. "I promise. I'll help you." The storm raged on around them, but in that moment, Lily didn't feel afraid anymore. She had found something. Or perhaps something had found her. For a long moment, Lily just knelt there in the snow, her breath shaking as she looked at the two helpless puppies trembling before her. The storm hissed around them like a warning, but she didn't move. It felt wrong to leave them even for a second, as if the cold might swallow them the moment she stepped away. Slowly, she reached out and cupped the first puppy's face between her cold mittens. Its fur was stiff with ice, and when Lily brushed some snow away, she felt the pup lean weakly into her palms. The second puppy lifted its head just enough to nuzzle her wrist before collapsing against its sibling again. Her chest tightened. These weren't animals that could survive even another hour out here. "You're freezing," she whispered softly, her voice cracking with worry. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." She looked around again. No footprints, no trail, nothing that explained how they ended up alone on this bench. The idea that someone abandoned them made her stomach twist painfully. No creature deserved this. No baby, because that's what they were, should suffer alone in the cold. Her eyes welled with tears as she brushed snowflakes from their tiny ears. "I won't leave you," she said firmly, her voice suddenly filled with the kind of bravery that only comes from pure kindness. "I don't care what happens. I'm taking you with me." The wind gusted sharply, lifting her braids and slapping cold needles of snow against her cheeks, but Lily didn't flinch. She shrugged off her red coat and wrapped it around the puppies, tucking them tightly against her body. The sudden loss of warmth made her shiver violently, but she pulled them closer without hesitation. One of the puppies stirred, letting out a faint, broken whine. Lily pressed her cheek against his tiny head. "I've got you," she breathed. "You're safe now. I promise." She knew her parents might get upset. She knew bringing home two puppies, half frozen and completely unexpected, was a terrible idea. But she also knew something else. If she walked away tonight, she'd never forgive herself. The puppies needed her, and she needed to save them. Gathering every ounce of courage, Lily lifted them into her arms, their little bodies pressed close to her chest. They were impossibly light and frighteningly still. With one last glance at the abandoned cabin, she whispered again, "I promise I'll take care of you, whatever it takes." And then Lily turned toward home, carrying the secret that would soon turn her quiet world upside down. The moment Lily stood with the two puppies bundled inside her red coat, the storm seemed colder than ever. The wind clawed at her, pushing against her small frame, but she tightened her grip, shielding the puppies with her own body. Their faint breaths warmed the inside of her coat, and that tiny warmth gave her courage. "Just a little more," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was reassuring the puppies or herself. The path home felt twice as long now. Snow reached her knees, making every step a battle. The puppies shifted weakly, and Lily worried the movement meant they were slipping deeper into exhaustion. She moved faster, stumbling, catching herself, refusing to fall. She couldn't. Not while they depended on her. Lights flickered through the thick snowfall. Her house, glowing faintly through the storm. Her heart leaped. She was close. But then her stomach tightened. Her parents were inside. They would never let her keep two puppies, especially not ones found in the middle of a blizzard. They might call animal control, and Lily couldn't stand the thought of the puppies being taken away. Not tonight. Not when they needed her most. "No one has to know yet," she whispered. "Just until they get warm." She crept around the back of the house, boots crunching softly in the snow. The backyard was dark, sheltered by tall pine trees that swayed in the wind. She approached her bedroom window, The same window she used during summer to sneak cookies to the neighbor's kittens. But climbing in during a snowstorm, with 2 freezing puppies hidden under her coat, this was different. She gently shifted the puppies to one arm and used her free hand to push the window upward. It groaned loudly, and Lily froze. She held her breath, listening. No footsteps, no voices, just the relentless storm outside. She exhaled slowly and climbed through, landing softly on her bedroom carpet. The puppies whimpered at the sudden warmth. Lily quickly closed the window and hurried to her bed, unwrapping her coat. The puppies blinked at the room's soft glow, their little bodies trembling less now. One lifted its head, sniffing the air. The other pressed against Lily's hand, seeking comfort. "You're safe," she whispered, brushing snow from their ears. "You're finally safe." She gathered blankets, old towels, anything warm she could find, piling them into a nest beside her bed. She gently laid the puppies inside. They curled together instantly, tiny chests rising and falling. Lily knelt beside them, her hands resting over their small bodies. She had gotten them home, but she had no idea that saving them would come with a cost she could never have imagined. Lily's bedroom filled with a gentle glow from the small lamp by her bedside, casting warm light across the blankets where the puppies lay huddled. Their breaths came out in soft, shaky puffs, fogging the air for just a moment before dissolving. Lily knelt beside them, her fingers trembling as she tucked the blankets closer around their frail bodies. The warmth from the room slowly began to melt the icy stiffness in their fur. Droplets formed and slid down their coats, soaking into the towels beneath them. Lily dabbed them dry with careful hands, whispering, "It's okay, you're going to feel better soon. I promise." One of the puppies let out a soft groan, blinking weakly as its eyes adjusted to the light. The other shifted closer to its sibling, pressing its tiny head into the blanket. Seeing them respond, even a little, made Lily's heart swell with relief. She hurried to the kitchen, tiptoeing past her parents' room, praying the floorboards wouldn't creak. She warmed a small bowl of water, testing it with her finger until it was just right. Then, with her hands wrapped around the warm bowl for protection, she crept back into her room. The puppies stirred at the scent of warmth. Lily dipped her fingers in the water and gently touched it to their lips. The smaller puppy licked instinctively, and Lily felt a spark of hope. She tilted the bowl slightly, letting them sip. Their tiny tongues flicked at the water, each movement filled with desperate need. "That's it," she whispered, smiling through a tightening throat. "You're fighters, both of you." For the first time that night, the storm outside no longer frightened her. Instead, she felt shielded inside this small room, a sanctuary she had created with nothing more than blankets and determination. But then, a strange feeling prickled up her spine. The puppies were still trembling, but something in their behavior shifted. The larger one lifted its head, ears twitching, as if listening to something beyond the walls. Its eyes sharpened, losing their glazed weakness for a moment. It stared at the window. Lily followed its gaze. Nothing. Just snow drifting past the glass, blown sideways by the relentless wind. Still, something about the way the puppy watched the darkness made Lily's heart skip a beat. "You're safe here," she insisted gently, brushing its small head. "No one's going to hurt you." But the puppy didn't relax. It pressed closer to its sibling, both of them now staring at the same spot. Lily swallowed hard. Maybe they were scared. Maybe they were remembering the cold. Or maybe something had frightened them out there before she found them. She shook the thought away, refusing to imagine anything worse. Tonight wasn't about fear. Tonight was about saving them. As she curled up beside their makeshift bed, watching their small bodies rise and fall beneath the blankets, Lily held on to one single hope. That morning would come, and the puppies would still be alive to see it. The storm eased sometime after midnight, but Lily didn't sleep. She lay curled on the floor beside the puppies, listening to their soft breaths, her hand resting gently on their blanket nest. Every so often, one of them whimpered, and she would whisper calming words until they settled again. Around 3 a.m., Lily noticed the larger puppy shifting restlessly. Its ears twitched. Its nose lifted, sniffing the air with sharp, deliberate movements. It wasn't trembling from a cold anymore. Its body language had changed. It was alert. "Are you okay, little guy?" Lily whispered, lifting her head. The puppy ignored her voice. Its gaze fixed once more on the window, the same spot it had stared at earlier. It let out a low, almost inaudible growl, soft enough that Lily questioned whether she imagined it. She sat up slowly, wrapping her blanket around her shoulders. Something about the puppy's behavior made her chest tighten. Finally, she decided to check on them more closely. She pulled the blankets back gently, examining their tiny bodies for any injuries. Their fur was still damp, but no longer ice cold. She smiled softly, until her fingers brushed something unusual. A collar. She hadn't noticed it before under their frozen fur. The puppies wore thin, dark gray collars, nothing fancy, just narrow bands fastened snugly around their necks. But when Lily lifted one into the light, her heart skipped. Instead of a name tag, the collar had a small rectangular metal plate. No name, no owner, just numbers. She traced them with her thumb. 0427B, 0428B. Like barcodes, she murmured. The second puppy's collar had the same kind of tag, right down to the precise stamping, almost machine-like. Lily frowned. Normal puppies didn't have numbers like this. People didn't tag pets this way. She glanced at the larger puppy again. It watched her carefully, as if studying her reaction. "What happened to you too?" she whispered. Then she noticed something else, a tiny scar on the larger puppy's right ear. Barely visible, but unmistakably real. A straight line, precise, almost surgical. Her stomach twisted. Were they part of something? Some kind of program? Or worse, experiments? Lily shook her head quickly. She didn't want to believe anything frightening. They were just babies. Maybe they'd been lost from a breeder. Maybe the collars were for tracking. But deep inside, a small voice whispered. Someone didn't lose them. Someone let them freeze. Lily pulled the blankets back around the puppies protectively, her hands trembling. "Whoever left you out there, they don't get you back," she whispered fiercely. She didn't know it yet, but those numbers on the collars were the first clue in a mystery much bigger than she ever imagined. The house had grown eerily quiet. The storm outside softened into a whisper, no longer roaring against the windows. Instead of comfort, the silence brought something else. An uneasy stillness that made Lily's skin prickle. She sat beside the puppies, stroking their fur gently, trying to convince herself everything was okay. But the larger puppy refused to relax. It kept lifting its head, ears perked, nose twitching at invisible scents drifting through the air. Suddenly, both puppies stiffened. They didn't tremble. They didn't whine. They froze. A low growl bubbled from their tiny throats, quiet, almost hesitant, but unmistakably a warning. Lily's breath caught. "What's wrong?" Before she finished the sentence, she heard it too. A crunch. Snow compacting under weight. Slow. Deliberate. Not wind. Not falling ice. Footsteps. Lily's heart slammed against her ribs. She turned toward the window, her breath fogging the glass as she stared into the darkness. The backyard was a blur of shadows and drifting snowflakes, but something moved between the trees. A flicker of light. A flashlight. Lily gasped and ducked instinctively, pulling the puppies close. The beam swept across the yard, gliding over the snow-covered ground like a searching eye. It passed the pine trees, the shed, then drifted closer, hunting for something. Or someone. "No, no, no," she whispered, trembling. The puppies pressed against her, their growls deepening with each second. The smaller one hid behind her arm, but the larger stayed rigid, staring at the window with eerie focus. The beam of light stopped, right outside her room. Lily's lungs tightened until she couldn't breathe. She crawled backward slowly, her hands trembling violently. The flashlight lifted, higher, closer, until it pointed directly at her window. The silhouette of a person formed behind it, tall, still, watching. Lily clapped a hand over her mouth to muffle her sob. She prayed they couldn't see inside. Her room was dimly lit, but shadows hid most of her floor. Maybe the stranger would move on, maybe. The doorknob to the backyard gate rattled. Lily's heart exploded in panic. The puppies barked, sharp and terrified, their tiny voices breaking the silence. "Please go away," she whispered frantically. The figure stepped closer, boots crunching loudly now. The flashlight beam skimmed along the window frame, searching for gaps, inspecting the glass. It wasn't random. They weren't wandering. They were looking. And the puppies. They were reacting to this person. Just as suddenly as the searching began, the light pulled away. Footsteps retreated, fading into the storm's dying wind. Silence returned, but it didn't feel safe. It felt like a warning. Lily didn't sleep the rest of the night. She sat between the puppies, arms wrapped around them, her eyes never leaving the window. Someone had been out there. Someone searching in the dark. And whatever they were looking for, Lily was terrified she had it. Morning came slowly, creeping into Lily's room as a pale, icy light. She hadn't slept, not even for a minute. Her eyes were heavy, her body stiff, but she kept her arms firmly around the puppies, who had finally drifted into a fragile sleep. The world outside was quiet now. Too quiet. Lily's gaze kept drifting to the window, half expecting the flashlight to return, half praying she had imagined everything. But the puppies' reaction told her otherwise. They had sensed danger long before she did. She reached out and stroked their tiny heads. "It's okay, you're safe now. No one's taking you." But safety was temporary. Her door creaked open. "Lily? Why are you awake so early?" Her mother's voice froze her. The puppies stirred at the sound. Before Lily could hide them, the larger one pushed its nose out from under the blanket and let out a weak bark. Her mother's eyes widened. "Lily, what is that?" she gasped, stepping into the room. Panic surged through Lily. She wrapped her arms around the puppies protectively. "Mom, please." They were freezing outside. "I couldn't leave them." Her mother placed a hand over her heart as if trying to steady it. "Honey, you can't just bring animals into the house. Especially not without telling us." "But they would have died," Lily cried, tears welling. "Someone abandoned them in the storm. They had ice in their fur, Mom. They couldn't even walk." Her father rushed in next, still half asleep, eyes widening at the sight of 2 German Shepherd puppies in his daughter's blanket nest. "Oh no. Oh no," he muttered, rubbing his temples. "We can't keep them. We don't know where they came from. They could be sick." "They're not sick," Lily insisted. "They're scared. And someone was outside last night looking for them." Her parents both turned sharply. "What?" her father asked, his expression darkening. Lily swallowed hard. There was a person in the backyard, with a flashlight. They shook the gate. The puppies were growling. "I saw their shadow right outside my window." Her mother's face drained of color. "Why didn't you wake us up?" I was scared," Lily whispered. "And I didn't want them to be taken away." Her parents exchanged a long, tense look. Concern, fear, confusion. Finally, her father exhaled and knelt beside her. "Lily, we need to call someone. We can't handle this alone." "No," she cried, clutching the puppies tighter. "Please. Not yet." But the decision wasn't hers anymore. Whether she wanted it or not, the secret she brought home was about to pull her entire family into something far more dangerous than they realized. The hours after sunrise felt strangely heavy, as if the storm had left a weight on the world that sunlight couldn't lift. Lily sat on her bed with the puppies pressed tightly against her chest, refusing to let them go even for a moment. Her parents moved around the house in tense silence, whispering in worried tones, their footsteps sharp and hurried. Something had shifted. The house didn't feel like home. It felt like a place holding its breath. Lily's father kept glancing out the windows, checking the yard, scanning the tree line where she had seen the flashlight the night before. Her mother clutched her phone, her thumb hovering over the screen, as though she was ready to call someone at any second. But Lily barely noticed any of that. Her attention was glued to the puppies. Their bodies were warmer now, and although still weak, they were awake, alert even. The larger one kept lifting its head, scanning the room with a seriousness that didn't fit a tiny puppy. The smaller one trembled occasionally, but it stayed nestled against Lily's arm, its small heartbeat fluttering rapidly against her skin. "It's okay," Lily whispered, stroking their fur. "No one's going to hurt you." But even as she said it, she didn't believe it entirely. Not after what she saw last night. Suddenly, a loud thump echoed from outside. Lily jerked her head up. Her father rushed to the front window. Her mother stiffened, lowering her phone slowly. "What was that?" Lily whispered, clutching the puppies tighter. Then came another sound. A deep rhythmic hum. Mechanical. Growing louder. Engines. Multiple engines. "Stay here," her father said firmly, stepping toward the door. Lily slid off the bed, anxiety clawing up her throat. She edged closer to her window, peeking through the curtains just enough to see the street. And her heart stopped. Police cars. At least 6 of them. Their black tires crushed fresh snow as they screeched to a halt in front of her house. Red and blue lights flashed wildly, reflecting off rooftops and windows, drowning the quiet street in chaotic color. Uniformed officers jumped out, some running toward neighboring houses, others forming tight formations around the yard. 2 officers released K9 dogs, their leashes tight as they scanned the snow. Lily stumbled backward, her breath catching painfully. No, this can't be happening. Her mother rushed into the room, her face pale. "Lily, sweetheart, stay away from the windows." "But why are they here?" Lily cried. Before her parents could answer, a booming voice echoed through the neighborhood, amplified by a megaphone. "This is the county police. Remain inside your home. Do not come out." Lily's entire body trembled. The puppies wriggled in her arms. Not in fear, but in recognition. Their ears shot up. Their eyes sharpened. They knew this was about them. She didn't know how or why, but one thing was suddenly clear. Whatever she brought home last night, the entire police force was looking for it. The flashing lights drenched Lily's room in chaotic reds and blues, pulsing across her walls like a warning heartbeat. She clutched the puppies tighter, feeling their tiny bodies tense in her arms. The larger one lifted its head, ears rigid, muscles tight, far too alert for a puppy that had nearly frozen hours ago. Her father stepped toward the living room window, his voice trembling. "Why are there so many officers? What is going on?" Before anyone could answer, a loud knock thundered against the front door, firm, commanding, unmistakably official. Bam, bam, bam. "This is the county police." "Open the door," a voice bellowed. Lily flinched, her heart racing. Her mother grabbed her shoulders. "Stay in your room. Do not come out." "But Mom." "No, Lily. Please. Just stay here." Her mother hurried out, closing the door behind her. Lily crawled toward the crack under the frame, listening as the door creaked open. "Ma'am," an officer said, his tone clipped with urgency. "We're looking for something extremely important. We need full access to your home." "Something?" her mother echoed, confused. "What on earth are you talking about?" The officer didn't hesitate. 2 missing assets. Lily's breath froze. Assets? Not dogs? Not pets? Assets. Her father's voice sharpened. "What does that mean? What are you looking for?" "We can't disclose details," the officer replied. "But we have reason to believe they're inside this house." Lily's stomach twisted. She pressed a hand over the puppies' heads, trying to quiet their soft growls. They sensed the tension, sensed the danger, long before she did. Then the officer spoke again, louder, this time addressing the entire house. "Everyone inside, step away from the windows. Stay visible. We have K9 units moving in." "K9 units? For what?" Lily dared to peek through her curtains again. More officers spread across the yard, forming a wide perimeter around their property. One pointed directly at her house. Another spoke into a shoulder radio, nodding sharply. A tall man stepped forward, clearly the commander. He raised a megaphone, his voice booming through the neighborhood. "To the occupants of this home, please bring forward the 2 missing canines. Do not attempt to hide them. They are property of an ongoing federal investigation." Lily's heart plummeted. Property. Federal investigation. Nothing about this sounded like lost puppies anymore. She pressed her back against the wall, shaking violently. The puppies whimpered, curling closer to her. The smaller one trembled uncontrollably, but the larger stared at the door, as if waiting for something to happen. Then her father shouted from the living room, panic breaking through his voice. "There must be some mistake. We don't have anything like that." The commander didn't falter. "We have confirmation. The signal we traced ends in your daughter's bedroom." Lily gasped, nearly dropping the puppies. They were tracking them. The collars. The numbers. They weren't random. A sudden banging rattled her door. "Lily, open up," her mother cried. Lily clutched the puppies protectively, tears spilling down her cheeks. She had tried to save them, but now the entire police force wanted them back. And Lily had no idea why. Lily's mother burst into the room just as an officer stepped inside behind her, his uniform heavy with snow, his expression stern but not unkind. Lily instinctively shielded the puppies with her body, her arms wrapping around them as if she could hide them with sheer will. "Sweetheart," her mother whispered urgently. "They just want to look. Please let them." "No," Lily cried, tears streaking down her face. "They'll take them. They'll hurt them." The officer knelt down, his voice softening. "No one is here to hurt anyone, okay? But those puppies, they aren't normal strays." Her father joined them, confusion etched deep in his features. "What does that mean?" "They're just dogs." The officer hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "Sir, ma'am, your daughter brought home 2 of the most valuable missing canines in the state. They were part of a restricted federal training program. They were stolen 3 nights ago." Lily felt the ground tilt beneath her. Stolen? Federal training? These tiny, shivering puppies? The officer continued, "We've been searching nonstop. These pups aren't pets. They're highly specialized future K9s in early development stages. They were meant to be transferred to a secure facility. Someone broke in, took them, and abandoned them when the storm hit." Lily's voice cracked. "But why? Why would someone steal puppies?" The officer's expression darkened. "Not everyone sees dogs the way children do. These dogs are worth thousands even at this age. Some people would sell them to criminal organizations, others to private buyers. When the storm made travel impossible, they must have panicked and left them behind." Lily covered her mouth, horrified. The larger puppy lifted its head again, looking at the officer with a strange familiarity, almost as if it recognized him. The officer reached into his pocket and pulled out a small handheld scanner. "May I?" he asked gently. Lily hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. He moved the scanner toward the collar of the larger puppy. A soft beep sounded. The screen lit up. 0427B active. He scanned the second puppy. 0428B, weak signal. Medical alert. He exhaled with relief. "Thank God. These are the missing pups. They're alive." Lily's heart broke. So you're taking them?" Her mother looked down, unable to answer. The officer sighed. "We have to. They need immediate medical care and evaluation. But listen," he looked Lily gently in the eyes. "If you hadn't found them when you did, they wouldn't have survived the night. You saved them. You did more than most adults would dare in a storm." Lily wiped her tears, shaking her head. "I didn't save them for someone else to take away." The officer softened. "I know. And I promise, this isn't goodbye yet. But their safety comes first." The words stabbed her like ice. The puppies whimpered softly, sensing her distress. The smaller one buried its face into her sleeve. The larger pressed its head against her chest, refusing to move. And Lily realized the most painful truth of all. They didn't want to leave her either. The officer was still speaking when a sudden burst of static crackled through his radio. He touched the earpiece immediately, his posture shifting from gentle to rigid. "Commander, this is Unit 3, a voice hissed through the receiver. "We've got movement on the north side. Tracks in the snow, fresh. Multiple footprints." Lily's father stiffened. "What does that mean?" The officer didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened, and he moved toward the window, gently pulling the curtain aside. Outside, the perimeter of police cars and officers had grown. More K-9 units rushed into position. Voices shouted commands across the yard. But the officer's eyes focused on one thing: the shadowed tree line behind the house. He lowered his voice. "They're here." Lily clutched the puppies so hard they whimpered. "Who's here?" The officer turned back toward her family, urgency burning in his eyes. "Whoever stole these pups. We believe they followed the signal from the collars, same as we did." Her mother gasped. "You mean the people who abandoned them? They came back." He nodded grimly. "They realize the police are recovering the assets. They're desperate and dangerous." As if on cue, another officer burst into the hallway. "Sir, we've got unidentified individuals approaching from the east fence. 3, maybe 4. Her father took Lily by the shoulders protectively. "We should hide. We should." "No," the officer interrupted sharply. "Stay inside, stay low, and stay together. We'll handle them." But his eyes drifted again to the puppies. Not with suspicion, with understanding. "They're not just after anything," he said quietly. "They're after them." The words sent a chill through the room colder than the storm outside. Fear surged inside Lily. She could barely breathe. Whoever these people were, they had come through a blizzard, in the early morning, knowing police were already here. That meant they weren't afraid. They were determined. The puppies seemed to feel the shift. The larger one lifted its head again, ears pricked, tiny muscles taut. It growled, not the frightened growl from earlier, but a low, instinctive warning. The smaller puppy buried itself deeper against Lily, trembling uncontrollably. Suddenly, pop! A sound cracked through the air outside. Not a firework. Not ice breaking. Something sharper. The officers reacted instantly, grabbing their radios. Shots fired. Repeat, shots fired. Lily's mother screamed and pulled Lily into her arms, shielding her and the puppies beneath her coat. Her father moved in front of them, forming a wall with his body. The officer knelt beside them, his voice firm but steady. "Listen to me. Do not move from this spot. Do not look outside. We will protect you." Outside, chaos erupted. Boots pounding, dogs barking, officers shouting into radios as they moved to intercept the intruders. Through all the noise, Lily heard the larger puppies growl deepen. Not out of fear, out of recognition. Somewhere out in the snow, the people who abandoned them had returned. And this time, they weren't running away. They were coming to take the puppies back. The chaos outside was no longer distant. It pressed against the walls of the house like a living force. Shouts echoed through the yard, dogs barked sharply, and boots pounded over snow and ice. Lily huddled against the wall with the puppies tucked under her arms, every muscle trembling. The officer near the window lifted his radio. "Units, tighten the perimeter. They're trying to flank the west side." Through the glass, Lily saw flashes of movement. Dark figures darting between trees, slipping behind fences, trying to breach the police line. The officers moved quickly, forming a barrier with their K9s lunging forward, teeth bared. Her father's voice trembled. "This can't be happening, all this for 2 puppies?" But the officer shook his head. "Not just puppies. They represent money, power, leverage. These men will do anything to get them back." A sudden metallic clank sounded beneath Lily's window. She froze. The larger puppy's ears shot up. It twisted in her arms, barking sharply at the sound. Then, a gloved hand appeared on the window frame. Lily's scream caught in her throat. The hand slid upward, gripping the edge, trying to force it open. Snow fell from the sleeve as the intruder pulled himself closer, his shadow stretching across the room. Before Lily could react, the larger puppy lunged forward with a ferocity no tiny dog should have. Lily barely managed to hold onto him as he barked wildly, deep, sharp, urgent. The intruder froze. Then the flashlight beam, the same one from the night before, flashed through the crack in the window. "It's them," Lily gasped. "It's the same person." The officer didn't hesitate. He rushed to the window, shoving Lily and her parents back. "Get down." He slammed the window shut and locked it, pressing his back against it just as the intruder yanked from the outside, testing the frame again. Unit 6, the officer barked into his radio. Suspect attempting entry through the east bedroom window. Move in now. Within seconds, 2 police dogs rushed around the side of the house, their growls vibrating through the walls. Officers followed, flashlights sweeping violently through the snow. Hands where we can see them, a voice roared. Footsteps scattered. The intruder bolted from a window, sprinting through the yard. Officers gave chase. Snow kicked up in frantic bursts, as shadows collided with beams of white light. The puppies barked louder, the smaller one trembling, but the larger one furious, as if confronting something long feared. Then, thud. A body hit the ground outside. Officers shouted commands. A K-9 barked triumphantly. Suspect detained. Relief washed over Lily like warm water. Her mother exhaled shakily, pulling Lily into her arms. It's over. It has to be. But the officer shook his head. That was only one of them. He pointed toward the tree line, where dark shapes still shifted. They didn't all come for the window. Some came for the house. He knelt beside Lily, his voice calm but grave. They weren't just trying to take the puppies. He paused, eyes narrowing. They were trying to take them from you. Inside the house, everything felt suspended, like the world was holding its breath after the chaos outside. Officers moved through the hallway, checking windows, reinforcing locks, speaking urgently into radios. But Lily didn't notice any of it. Her entire focus was on the 2 puppies trembling in her lap. The smaller one pressed tightly against her chest, its tiny body shaking with exhaustion and fear. The larger one, though weak, sat upright, staring at the door as if still guarding her. Lily wrapped her arms around both, her heart aching with a fierce protectiveness she didn't know she could feel. The officer who had been helping them earlier stepped back into the room. His face, once tense and sharp, now softened into something almost humbled. Is she okay? Her mother asked anxiously. He nodded. She's more than okay. Then he looked at Lily. You did something extraordinary today. Lily blinked, confused. I didn't do anything. I just didn't want them to die. That's exactly it, he said gently, kneeling beside her. You didn't freeze up. You didn't panic. You acted when most people your age, and even adults, would have walked away. If you hadn't taken them in, they wouldn't have survived the night. And if you hadn't alerted us with what you saw last night, we wouldn't have caught one of the suspects. Her father placed a hand on her shoulder, pride glowing in his weary eyes. Her mother brushed a thumb across Lily's cheek, wiping away a tear she hadn't noticed had fallen. But the officer wasn't finished. Do you know what those men outside were trying to do? He asked quietly. They were trying to recover these pups before we could. They wanted to wipe out all evidence, and that included anyone who had seen them. Lily's breath trembled. Her mother gasped, pulling her close. Oh my God. The officer held up a hand, soothing. She's safe now. We have the area secured. But I want her to understand something important. He looked Lily in the eyes, really looked. They bonded with you, he said softly. They trusted you when they were freezing to death. They recognized danger before we did. And in their eyes, you're their protector. The puppies whimpered, nudging deeper into her arms, confirming his words without a single sound. Tears filled Lily's eyes, not from fear this time, but from something bigger. Something warm. Purpose. You're a hero today, Lily, the officer added. Don't ever forget that. For the first time since the storm began, Lily breathed deeply, her chest full, her heart steady. She had saved them. And now, they weren't alone anymore. Morning light broke fully at last, stretching across the snow-covered street where officers still patrolled, their breath fogging in the sharp winter air. The storm had passed, but traces of the chaos remained, boot prints, scattered equipment, the fading echo of commands barked only hours before. Inside the warm living room, however, a different kind of stillness settled, a tired, relieved quiet that followed fear's retreat. Lily sat curled on the couch, wrapped in a soft blanket, the 2 puppies nestled tightly against her. Their breathing had steadied. Their bodies were warm now. The smaller one slept with its nose tucked under Lily's hand, while the larger puppy rested protectively across her lap as if guarding her even in its exhaustion. Her parents hovered close by, exhaustion written across their expressions, but pride shining through every wordless glance they exchanged. The commander himself entered the room, his heavy coat dripping melted snow, his radio still crackling softly at his side. Despite the night's chaos, he approached with a softened demeanor, hat tucked respectfully under his arm. "Lily," he said gently, "may I sit?" She nodded. He lowered himself onto the chair across from her, resting his forearms on his knees. For a moment, he simply watched the tiny pups sleeping on her lap, alive, safe, because of her. "I've been doing this work for over 20 years, he began quietly. "I've seen a lot of cruelty and a lot of bravery. But what you did last night, that's something extraordinary." Lily lowered her gaze, shyly. "I just couldn't leave them there. And thank God you didn't," he said. "Those collars you found, they weren't just for identification. They had tracking transmitters inside. That's how the criminals found your house. But it's also how we located them in time." Her father exhaled shakily at the reminder of the danger. Her mother ran her fingers through Lily's hair, pulling her close. The commander continued, "We'll be taking the puppies to our medical unit for a full checkup. They'll get everything they need, food, warmth, care." He paused, noticing Lily's arms tighten around them instinctively. "But before you worry, listen to this." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small envelope, sealed, stamped with the department's crest. He handed it to Lily. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a neatly folded letter. She read the first line, and her breath caught. "Upon completion of medical recovery and evaluation, approval is granted for Lily Thompson to adopt both puppies, Unit 0427, B, and Unit 0428, B, should she choose to do so." Lily's eyes widened. Her mouth fell open. She glanced up at the commander, unsure if she was dreaming. Her mother gasped softly. Her father ran a hand over his face, stunned. "I know what these dogs mean to you," the commander said warmly. "And I know what you mean to them. The moment we tried to separate them from you, well, let's just say our team got quite the protest." He chuckled softly. "They've already chosen you, Lily." Tears spilled down Lily's cheeks, but this time they were bright with joy. She pressed her face into the puppy's fur, holding them as if she never wanted to let go. "You mean, I can really keep them?" she whispered. "If you want to," the commander confirmed. Lily nodded so quickly her braids swung. "Yes. Yes, I want them forever." The room filled with warmth that outshined the sunlight outside. Her parents embraced her, tears in their own eyes now. The commander stood, smiling. Then it settled. These little heroes have a new home. As officers outside began clearing the scene, Lily stepped onto the porch with the puppies in her arms. The world sparkled, snow glistening like diamonds, morning calm replacing chaos. She gazed at the quiet street, the puppies nuzzling into her warmth, and whispered, "You're safe now. Forever." And in that moment, nothing else mattered. She had saved them, and somehow, they had saved her too. This story teaches us that courage and kindness can come from anyone, no matter how young they are. Lily didn't turn away when she saw two helpless lives in danger. She acted with compassion, even when it was difficult and frightening. Her bravery not only saved the puppies, but also helped stop a serious crime. We learn that small choices can make a big difference, and doing the right thing often requires courage. Most importantly, we are reminded that every life has value, and helping others, whether people or animals, can create hope in the darkest moments.